The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So I was thinking about this the other day, as I think we're getting close to that point in the offseason where what's done is done, right? And I actually do think there's still one move left in the chamber for Adam Peters, right? And I do think they're going to add another pass rusher, but what if they don't? Has that crossed your mind? What if they're done? What if they're content with what they've already added to this roster and they're just going to let it ride? Because honestly, what are you waiting for if you're going to add a guy? Like, maybe one of those veterans doesn't want to be here at rookie mini or at OTAs, but I mean, the sooner the better you get somebody into your program. If you're going to bring somebody in here, this is the time to do it. Get them acclimated, get them a playbook, and get them integrated into what's going on here. The longer this drags on, the less likely I feel it is that we'd add someone, assuming health continues to be a non-issue, right? Obviously, if something occurs, then they may be prompted to do something as a reaction to something transpiring. But assuming that we stay healthy throughout this entire process, they could be done. And what we have could be it. And they could be very comfortable with what they have, and they're not looking at it from the lens that we are. They have a plan, and they are going to execute it, and they feel just perfectly fine with the pieces that they've added, and they feel good about what they're going to be able to do from a pass rush standpoint. That's very, very possible and totally within reason. So as I continue to think about the pass rush, and I thought long and hard about this when I, watched the Frankie Louvu documentary, and I had already watched the previous three-part series, the profile, and I put that down in the description of the last video, and I pinned it to the comment section of that Frankie Louvu video that I put out earlier. So if you haven't had a chance to check that out, please do so. But I got to thinking about what a pass rush could potentially do for this team. I'm not worried about this offense at all whatsoever. But I am somewhat, and I don't think concerned is the right word. I am, though, kind of in wait and see mode on this defense. Maybe we're overreacting to the perceived lack of pass rush that this team will be able to generate. So I wanted to do a quick deep dive into that particular subject matter, pass rush, and talk about where the pass rush is going to come from, who I believe needs to step up in a major way this year in order to have the pass rush be maximized, and then how we can make up for the loss of Dante Fowler Jr., overcome those 10.5 sacks that are no longer here, and maybe even exceed that and increase the number from last year. So let's take a look at some things, and let's talk about this pass rush for the Washington Commanders. And first and foremost, pardon my rudeness, happy Saturday. How's everyone doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? Depending on where you're watching this, morning. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing splendiferous, because I most certainly am. With that said, let's dive in to this Commanders pass rush and take a look at what they did last year and how they can either meet or surpass that number this year. So this is a list of the leading sack teams in the NFL from the 2024 season. As you can see, the Denver Broncos led all teams in the National Football League with 63 sacks. The Ravens were second, and they were a distant second. I mean, the Broncos were the only team to hit 60 sacks last year. The next closest team were the Ravens, and they were at 54. So they cleared the next best team by 9 total sacks. So the Broncos were no joke last year getting to the quarterback. That said, if you come all the way down to 11th, the Commanders are tied with the New York Jets for the 11th most sacks in the league. Not bad. Not bad for a team that at times felt like we couldn't generate enough pass rush. But when you look at the totality of what we were able to do, 43 is a solid number. It's not a great number, but it's not a terrible number either. And as you can see, we're top half of the league. Hell, you're top third in the league in getting to the quarterback with this number, essentially, right? So with that said, how can we at least meet that number from a season ago? How can we at least get to 43 sacks again this year? You already lost 10.5 sacks from a season ago in Dante Fowler Jr. So you're working from a deficit. Jeremy Chin got you 2 sacks last year. He's no longer here. So that's going to knock you down to 12.5 sacks that you have to recoup. How do we get back to 43 sacks or even increase that total? We were up in a lot of games last year. Big, right? We were up big in a number of contests last year where teams had no choice but to abandon the run and throw the football, i.e. the Tennessee game. We were up by 4 touchdowns early in the second quarter against Tennessee. They had to abandon the run and throw the football. We did not peel off and destroy Will Levis in that game and sack him 9 times. We should have, but we didn't. We hit him. We harassed him. But we did not sack him a bunch of times. How can we be better this season? Continuing with the theme of last year, these are how the sacks were compiled. We had 43 total as a team. These are the individual sack statistics from last season. Obviously, the leader in the clubhouse was Dante Fowler Jr. He's no longer here, so you have to replace that production. Frankie Louvu and his 8 sacks, still here. Dorrance Armstrong, his 5 sacks, still here. Deron Payne, his 4 sacks, still here. Cleveland Farrell, 3.5 sacks. He's back for now. Jonathan Allen and his 3 sacks, no longer here. Bobby Wagner, his 2 sacks, still here. Jeremy Chin, his 2 sacks, no longer here. Johnny Newton, his 2 sacks. Jalen Holmes, his 2 sacks. Javonte John Baptiste, his 1 sack, all still on this roster. So essentially, with the 10.5 plus the 2 from Jeremy Chin and the 3 from Jonathan Allen, that's 15.5 sacks that are no longer here that were here last year. So how do you replace the production? How do you generate the pressure? And how do you find ways to create, to me, what is going to be one of the bigger parts of the defense next season? Because I think they're going to stop the run more effectively. Some of what we struggled with last year, we cleaned up. Some of what we struggled with last year may be fixed internally, because some of it, I think, was just us not being fast enough defensively. Some of it was not being stout enough at the point of attack defensively. Well, they've cleaned up the stout, being stout at the point of attack. Can we flow to the football faster this year? We'll see. We'll see. But getting to the quarterback, because I think we're going to score points. I think we're going to apply pressure to teams from a you got to keep up standpoint. And that's going to force teams to have to throw the football. And in that setting, you know, one of the misconceptions of last year was that, you know, oh, we didn't get a ton of sacks, this, that, and the third. And, you know, when teams have to throw the football, generally, you want sacks, you want pressure, you want to find ways to get off the field. We actually did that last year. May not have been in by the sack variety, but we found ways off the field. How many leads did we blow last year? Can you recall? I can only think of one lead that we truly blew, and if not for the Noah's Ark, aka Washington walk-off, aka Bear Trap, we would have blown that game, and all we needed to do was get a stop on 4th and like 8. And instead, Benjamin St. Juste decided to straitjacket a receiver and grab him and on a ball that was clearly overthrown and uncatchable, give them a 1st and goal from the 1. All you had to do was get to Caleb Williams one time. But with that said, there's that game. There's the game against the Eagles. Now that I'm thinking about it, with Kenny Pickett, where we let Kenny Pickett, we had a 4th down on a shallow cross. All we had to do was make a damn tackle. Once again, Benjamin St. Juste to the rescue, or in this case, Benjamin St. Juste to our demise. Can't make a tackle on a shallow cross. We give up a 1st down, and they ended up going down the field. And if not for a Devontae Smith drop pass, probably lose that game too. He drops it. Jaden gets the ball again. We know the rest is history. So there were times last year where the pass rush, and I say this as if we don't all know the truth, right? How many games did the defense actually clinch the game, like put it away themselves without Jaden in the offense having to rescue them? That was one of the running jokes last year. It wasn't a laughing matter, though, when we were going through it, right? Do not let this defense have to be the reason we win a game. That was the saying last year. Every time we needed a stop, we couldn't get it. Those were in the close games. When we had blowout victories, the defense never had issues. Cleveland, Arizona, right? Carolina, Tennessee. The defense never had issues putting teams away when the deficit was 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. Never an issue. But when the game was close, when it was tight, and we needed a stop, either to preserve victory or to get the ball back to Jaden so he could have a shot, never did they come through. Ever. Never. It was always make sure that this is the last possession of the game. Make sure that Jaden and the offense is on the field, because we know this defense ain't worth a damn in crucial, critical moments when we need them the most. They ain't going to get the shit done. They're not going to get it done. They didn't get it done in week 2 against the Giants. If not for Malik Neighbors' drop pass on a 4th down when he was wide the hell open, we lose that game. Could not stop Daniel Jones. He walked his way down the field and had us dead to rights on a 4th down. And luckily for us, a drop pass bailed us out. Defense didn't do that. They get credit for it. They didn't do shit. He was wide ass open. Cincinnati game, we just had to keep scoring. We just had to keep scoring. Keep dumping. Keep your foot on that gas. We're going to keep stomping. Because if we would have ever took our foot off the gas, we knew Joe Burrow was going to hawk us down because we couldn't stop him. Even after Jaden threw that beautiful touchdown to Terry to put him away, what did we do? We gave up another touchdown. We gave up another touchdown to Jamar Chase. Down the damn sidelines. You keep going through the season. We could do this all day long. Ravens game. Jaden and Terry just go apeshit. They black out. They refuse to let us lose. 3rd down, 4th down conversions, touchdowns on 4th downs. They refuse to let us go away. All we need is a stop. One stop. Can't get it. Can't get it. Can't get to Lamar. There was a bogus penalty call there on a 3rd down. Couldn't stop Derrick Henry. Broke off his biggest run of the day. put us away. Typical Washington defense in those situations. Again, I could keep going. The Bears game, it's 9-0 going into the fourth quarter. They've done nothing. You give up the big run. The offense goes down, gets a field goal, couldn't put them away. We had like 18 touchdowns called back due to penalty. It is what it is. It's 12-7. All you got to do is get one stop of an offense that hasn't done jack diddly poo squat all day, and they let Caleb Williams on the final drive of the Bears of the game for the Bears walk it down the field, fourth down. All you got to do is get one stop. Benjamin St. Juste pass interference in the end zone, balls at the one, they run it in, touchdown. Bears take the lead. 14 and they go for 2 and they get it, and now it's 15-12. So it feels like we lost that game. We did it because fate would have it. We were going to break their spirits that day. But the defense didn't do their part. And you could argue there, I get it. You can argue that, well, on one hand, you're not even in that game without the defense because the offense didn't do anything. I'll grant you that. The defense was ironclad for 3 quarters. But I can't give you credit for the 3 quarters because of what you did in the final frame. It's hard for me to erase the final frame out of my memory because that's the last thing that I saw. And yes, granted, the offense could have put up way more points and not even put the defense in that position. But damn it, when we need you the most, we need you to step up. And they just didn't last season. Giants game, second Giants game. You know, like, come on. You're up 2 scores. The game's done. Just get a stop. Nope. Theo Johnson up the seam, wide ass open, touchdown. Now Jaden and the offense have to come on the field and put them away themselves to the point where we got to take knees inside the 5 just to make sure that they don't see the football again and that this game is officially over, because we can't trust the defense to make the game officially over. The offense has to do that. Steelers game. All you got to do is not let Mike Williams run past you on 3rd and 7. That's it. It's 24-20. They need a touchdown. All you got to do is not give up a touchdown. The Steelers had not scored, I don't think, since like the second quarter. I don't remember the last time they scored in that game, but it had been a while. All you got to do is not give up a touchdown. And of course, what do? Benjamin St. Juste again. Damn, I feel like it's a broken record here. He seems to be involved in just about every single one of these plays that were backbreaking to this defense last season. So glad he's no longer here. Mike Williams, first game as a Steeler, comes in, runs a go route right by Benjamin St. Juste for the score. Then the offense, unfortunately, you know, the Zach Ertz spot was terrible. Okay, fine. Defense, just get us to stop. We still got our timeouts. Johnny Newton jumps off sides. It is what it is. Right? What can you do? You got to live with the results. Right? Defense does it again. So you go to the Cowboys game, and I don't blame the defense for the first Eagles game. The defense played their asses off. They gave us a shot. The offense just never woke up in that game. That was one of the worst offensive games of the season. Like, they just never gave us a shot in that game. The offense. They came out early, ran the ball, had effectiveness. They did the 2 running back thing. And then for some reason, inexplicably in the second half, they just stopped. And the offense went to hell in a handbasket. We couldn't protect Jaden that night. It was a disaster. The Cowboys game was one of the most maddening games of the season because, once again, the defense played well enough for us to do what we needed to do, and the offense was just abysmal in that game. Special teams did some things to help us, but then it also did some things to hurt us. But even with that said, we got to a point in that game where we said, all right, defense, one more stop and we'll take it from here. All right, one more stop. And what do? Give up a seam ball to Schoonmaker. Wide open over the middle of the field. And you're just like, what are we doing, guys? We just needed one stop. You give up the touchdown to Luke Schoonmaker. You can't ask this defense to do anything. Remember the Saints game? Yeah, the offense had opportunities to blow them out of the water. How many times did Jaden miss Terry in that game for touchdowns? Yes, we're all aware. But guess what? Just stop them, okay? Let's just go home happy. Just stop them already. No, and yes, I know the clock malfunction helped them out too. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't have even been in that spot. Get the damn stop. They let Spencer Rattler go all the way down the field, score a touchdown, and we came within a 2-point conversion of blowing that game. Do you know what that would have done to our season? None of that shit happens. The Tampa Bay win, the Atlanta win in overtime, the playoff victory over the Lions, the first trip to the NFC Championship game since 91. None of that shit happens if we lose that Saints game. It's close because the defense couldn't get a damn stop. It's close. The Tampa game. We all knew the defense wasn't going to keep that lead. We knew it. At least they didn't give up a touchdown, right, at the end and gave Tampa the lead. At least they forced Tampa to kick the field goal to tie the game instead of taking the lead. At least they did that, right? But we all knew that lead wasn't safe. Not with this defense. Of course it wasn't. Of course they let them go down there and get the field goal. And that's why that Jaden Daniels keep on third down where he was able to stiff arm Kalijah Kancey and dive for the first down was so pivotal because we couldn't put the defense. We all knew Baker was going to walk us down the field and either score a touchdown or get back into field goal range, and that game was going to overtime. We already knew what the hell was going to happen. Thank God for Jaden Daniels. So I said all of that to say this. The sacks are cool, but we got to find a way to generate pressure when pressure is needed most. So let's turn our attention to the guys that are going to be potentially trying to generate pressure for us this year. There are some names here that aren't going to factor into this season and what we're trying to accomplish. Villamy Fioco Jr. probably not going to factor into anything that we're doing defensively. Same could be said for Andre Jones Jr. Probably not going to factor into much that we have going on. I won't count Norrell Pollard out. They really like Norrell Pollard, one of the undrafteds from last year from Virginia Tech. I won't count him out yet. But most of these names, and there are 17 names here, I'd say about 14 of them are probably going to be guys that make this roster and have a chance to impact the pass rush. To what degree? Obviously, to varying degrees. Let's talk about what we know. Here's what we know. We're going to be relying very heavily on Dorrance Armstrong, who had 5 sacks last year. We're going to need more than that from him. We're going to be relying on Javon Kinlaw. Just paid him a hefty contract this offseason. 3 years, $45 million. He's going to have to come in here and carry his weight, right? We're going to be relying heavily on Johnny Newton, second-year rookie or second-year player, out of Illinois, that we need to step up in year 2. We're going to talk more about him. Deron Payne, who is now one of the elder statesmen on this defensive front. Going to need him to step the hell up and prove his worth. We're going to talk a little bit more about him here in a second. Dietrich Wise, new to the crew, is a guy that we're going to need to come in here. And look, I'm not looking at Dietrich. I'm looking at him the same way I looked at Cleveland Farrell last year. Set a physical edge. Anything we get from a pass rusher standpoint from Dietrich Wise is found money. Oh, shit, look, there's a $20 bill on the ground. We'll pick it up. I'm not looking for Dietrich Wise to come in here and get 5 sacks. If he gets 4 sacks, I'm elated. If he gets 3 sacks, thumbs up. Job well done, my friend. You know, anything over 2, and we just walked into something. And I'm not trying to make it seem like Dietrich Wise is some bum, because he's not. But he's no we in this division. I don't know if you know, but in this division, we got really good tackles. This ain't the AFC East where you can, fall into a sack or 2. And we don't have bum quarterbacks outside of the Giants. We don't really know what the hell they got going on, but we don't have bum quarterbacks in this division either. There ain't no Drake Mays you're going to walk. There ain't no jet quarterback where you're going to walk into a sack, or that shit show the Dolphins had last year. That ain't what you walking into. So I don't expect much from Dietrich Wise. I ain't going to hold you. Anything we get from him is found money in the pass rushing sense. His job is to come in here and be stout at the point of attack, much more so than Cleveland Farrell was. I do think he's an upgrade over Cleveland Farrell. I do. Frankie Louvu, as we know, our second leading sack getter a season ago, he's going to be kind of catapulted towards the top of the food chain as a guy that we're really going to be counting on very heavily to go and get the quarterback. Did an excellent job last year, kind of stalled out at 8. Remember, he had 8 sacks probably with about 4 or 5 games left. We thought for sure he was going to get to double digits, and then the faucet got shut off. We're going to need him to step up, show improve once again. Jordan McGee is a new entry into this mix. We need him healthy this year. I can't state this enough. We need Jordan McGee healthy this season, because I think he's also another key to unlocking the run defense. His speed is a big difference out on that football field. And he may be a guy they try to use as a blitzer too. So he could end up getting in the sack column this season. But we need Jordan McGee healthy this year. That's for damn sure. Here's the wild card of all of this. The wild card, the biggest of wild cards, is Jacob Martin. Jacob Martin. Here's a guy that has immense talent and potential. He's slippery. He's bendable. He's got all of the traits you're looking for a guy to be able to post really good sack production, and he just hasn't done it throughout his career. We've talked about this already. I think the highest sack total he's ever had in his career is 4.5. He's a guy that is capable of getting you 8 sacks in a season. If anybody exceeds the limit and blows up, it could be Jacob Martin. It wouldn't shock me if Jacob Martin messes around and has 8.5, 9 sacks this year. Wouldn't shock me in the least. I'm not counting on it, though. Just like last year, I wasn't counting on Dante Fowler Jr. having 10.5 sacks. I was just elated to have a pass rush specialist, because we hadn't had one in so long. I can't even tell you the last time we had one. We tried to go out and get Junior Gillette, and he got hurt every time. I can't tell you the last time we had a legitimate, hey, your job is just go get the quarterback. And because of injuries along that defensive front, he was thrusted into the lineup and asked to do more than he should have been asked to do through no fault of his own. Jacob Martin is filling the Dante Fowler Jr. role. Hopefully, he doesn't have to see the field in a first and second down capacity. He can just be Jacob Martin, the pass rusher. That is it. That is all. And if he can get us 6 or 7 sacks, that's a win. And how you make up Dante Fowler Jr.'s 10.5, you're not going to ask one guy to do it. This is a collective effort. There's not one guy here that's going to go out and get you 10.5 by himself. I could be wrong, and Dorrance Armstrong could have a career year and finally hit double digits. Deron Payne could see the threat of what just happened to Jonathan Allen and say, oh, shit, contract year. Let me get my shit together. And he could turn the clock back to 2021. It could happen. It could happen. I wouldn't bank on it. Or turn the clock back to 2022, excuse me. It could happen. I highly doubt it, though. Right? But what I want to focus on right now, and then we'll talk about how we can get back to that 43 number and maybe even exceed it. What I think is the most important thing right now is these two guys right here. Jerzan, Johnny Newton, and Deron Payne. And if you want to throw Javon Kinlaw in there, be my guest. Go ahead, have at it. But interior pressure, to me, is going to be the key to unlocking this team's ability to rush the quarterback. I went back and watched Dorrance Armstrong rush the quarterback. You know, I get caught up. I'm on YouTube, you know, late night, wife's on the couch, sleep, got her feet up on me. I'm looking for something to watch. I'm perusing YouTube, and they get me every time. Something that I haven't seen before. You know, every Jaden Daniels throw over 20 yards or some bullshit, right, that the NFL puts out. And I'm like, oh, why the hell not? Click. And I watch it. Then I go down a rabbit hole. Right? Every late game moment for Jaden Day, and let me watch this shit. And I start reminiscing like Mary J. Reminisce, reminisce, reminisce. Right? So then I started thinking about this pass rush shit. Because again, I'm a nerd. This is what I do. I start thinking about shit that I shouldn't be thinking about before I go to sleep, before I close my eyes at night. Why am I thinking about football? Because I'm a junkie. That's why. And I was like, Dorrance Armstrong, he won a lot last year. I recall seeing this guy turn the corner, and because we got no interior pocket collapse, right? No pocket collapse and interior pressure from our defensive tackles, quarterbacks just stepped up, and he got pushed around the pocket, and he would have to try to then do a secondary spin to get back to the quarterback. By that time, it's too late. Jacob Martin is another guy that he's not going to win with power. He's not going to win with speed to power. Jacob Martin is going to win with either speed or a spin. Maybe a crossover if he's been taught that. But that's it. That's his arsenal. Speed and a spin. He's not going to be able to get to the quarterback unless there's interior pocket collapse and pressure. Where I think the biggest jump needs to take place is right here with these defensive tackles. I'm putting the onus on Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, and if Javon Kinlaw's in there, because he's not going to play defensive end all the damn time. I know they're going to move him around. We've talked about this already. They've got a plan for Javon Kinlaw. And that plan might be playing defensive end. Cool. But they're going to move guys around. They moved Dorrance Armstrong inside on obvious passing situations last year, and that proved to be fatal for the opposition. He was at his best late in the season. Teams couldn't block him. Had a sack in the NFC Championship game. Forced a fumble against Detroit that Frankie Louveau recovered, which was one of the most critical plays of the game that people don't talk about. We might get blown out if that play doesn't transpire. We're already down in that game 7-3. We're already down in that game 7-3 at that point, and they're in the red zone going for more. They get up 14-3. I don't know how we respond. I know we're not going to fold and throw the towel in, but I don't know if we're able to ever catch up and get the stops that we need to overcome the deficit and win that game the way that we did. That play allowed us to stay connected, ultimately force turnovers, take the lead, and never relinquish it again. That was the biggest play of that game. He turned into a menace, did Dorrance Armstrong, towards the end of the season. They started to unlock him. I hope he picks up where he left off from last year, because I could see that sack total jumping from 5 to 8.5 to 9, possibly 10. He's never had 10 in his career, but he's been in that 8.5 range before with Dallas. We could see that, and that's what I'm talking about. closing that gap by a guy like Dorrance getting 3 extra sacks next year. Frankie upping his total by 1 or 2 next year, right? Javonte John Baptiste getting 2 or 3 sacks. He had 1 last year. Well, if he gets 3, now again, other guys chipping in, doing a little bit more, right? Then you get the new guys coming in here. Jacob Martin, right? What can he give us? You get some other guys like Dietrich Wise. Cleveland Farrell gave us 3.5 last year. Can Dietrich Wise give us 4? That's an extra half a sack. Cleveland Farrell's still here. What if Cleveland gives us 2.5 sacks again this year, right? 1 short of what he gave us last year, but Dietrich comes in and gives us 4. Again, you're closing that gap with other guys. Deron gave us 4 last year. Could Deron say, all right, I hear you loud and clear. I see what's going on. If I don't step my shit up, they're going to do what they did to Jonathan Allen last offseason. They're going to do to me next offseason. So I got to go out here and go get you 8. Bet you done doubled what you did last year. And now we've already hit that 10.5 based off of you getting 4 more, Frankie getting 1 more, Dorrance getting 3 more, right? Dietrich coming in here and getting 4. Just like that, we done made up that 10.5 and we done exceeded that. Not to mention Johnny Newton. I don't even recall seeing Johnny Newton's name up here. I know he had to have had a sack last year. Let's take a look at this list real quick. Yeah, Johnny had 2. Johnny had 2. So Johnny has 2. Can Johnny get us 4? Can Johnny get us 5? That's how you exceed 43. Everybody just doing a little bit more. But I'm looking at them defensive tackles. This is how it's going to get done. I'm looking at none. We don't have a guy right now. Not Jacob Martin, not Dorrance Armstrong, not Frankie Lou. We don't have a guy that can just win flat out, turn the corner, flatten at 7.5 yards and get to the quarterback. We don't have not one guy that can do that. Not one. But we got guys that can win at 8 yards of depth. We got guys that can get to that 7-yard marker and then push and turn speed to power. And if the quarterback can't step up, it's trouble, right? Dorrance can do that. I've watched him do it. I've watched Dorrance win at 8 yards only to have the quarterback step up in the pocket because there's no interior collapse. I've watched Dorrance win at 7.5, and then turn that speed to power, bull rush that tackle, but the quarterback just steps up in the pocket. I've seen wins from Frankie Louvu where he almost grabs the quarterback, and the quarterback just steps up in the pocket because there's no interior pass rush. Our interior has to be the difference, and it doesn't actually have to equate to sacks for them. But they got to collapse the pocket enough. And maybe Eddie Goldman can help you do that. Again, we shouldn't be asking Eddie Goldman to rush the quarterback. His job is to come in here and help us stop the run. But guess what? Every play that Eddie Goldman's in the game isn't going to be a run. And if he's asked to be in the game when they're throwing the football, can he collapse the pocket? Can somebody collapse the pocket? Can somebody win off the snap, one-on-one, against a guard, against a center? Can someone get interior pressure so that that quarterback has nowhere to go? When we had our best performances against the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, that first game in particular, we were sharp defensively. They couldn't do anything that entire first half. I went back and watched that game. The pressure came from right up the middle. Frankie Louvu was a man possessed. What was our favorite blitz last year? Do you guys know? Do you know what blitz we ran more than any other blitz? I know you guys know because you're nerds just like me. And if you're a member of the mob, we watched the film. You saw what blitz we were running consistently on a weekly basis. What was the blitz? If you said double A gap pressure, you are correct. We would either do a cross dog where you would take your two middle linebackers and you would run them across each other, still in the A gap, by the way, right? Or they would just mug the A gap with both Frankie and Bobby. Both of them would come, or they would mug the A gap with both Frankie and Bobby, and one would come and one would drop. That was our favorite blitz last year. The A gap, double A gap blitz, right? So we had no variety when we blitzed. It was the double A gap. And now because you're mugging the A gaps, everybody's going to get one-on-one. Somebody's got to win. And there would be times when nobody would win. There would be times where the protection would get confused. Here comes Frankie. There'd be times where Bobby would get in there, running back would pick him up, Bobby would run through the running back, but now the quarterback's, escaping the pocket, trying to make something happen. And then there'd be times where the shit gets picked up. Like the 4th and 5 against the Eagles. Even though technically it wasn't picked up, Frankie Louie was hogtied by Saquon Barkley, and I don't know how I didn't get called. The official standing right there. That's nor here nor there. That was our blitz of choice last year. That was the only way that we consistently got pressure up the middle on the interior. That has to change. And it would be nice to be able to just get pressure with just 4. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that or not. But I'm looking at the interior guys and saying, you're the key to that. I'm talking to Johnny Newton. I'm talking to Deron Payne. I'm talking to Javon Kinlaw if he's playing on the interior as a 3-tech. I'm talking to Eddie Goldman if he's in there as a 1-tech. I'm talking to Sheldon Day, who did get pressure at times last year, if he's out there. I'm talking to whoever is out there as a defensive tackle. We're going to need more from that group from a pass rushing standpoint. There's only so much that Frankie Louie could do. Man had 8 sacks last year. He was everywhere. He was everywhere. We go back to the individual stats. Frankie Louie had the 2nd most tackles for loss on this team. 12 behind Dante Fowler Jr.'s 14. I keep telling y'all, Fowler Jr., for as much of a liability as he was in the run game, as much as y'all like to bitch and complain about his inability to stop the run, he made plays on the opposite side of the damn line of scrimmage. Who's going to fill that void? Who's going to make plays on the other side? How many 4th down stops did Dante Fowler Jr. have last year? I'm not here to have a campaign about Dante Fowler Jr.'s absence. We can make up the difference. But who's going to step up? Jeremy Chin had 2 sacks last year. I think you're going to see more blitzes come from the nickel with Mikey Sainristil. I think there's a chance Mikey Sainristil could have 2 or 3 sacks to make up that difference that you're going to lose with Jeremy Chin. And they didn't start blitzing Jeremy Chin till the end of the season. One of those sacks, if not both of them, came against Trey Lance in week 18 in a meaningless game against Dallas. So I don't want to make it seem like Jeremy Chin was out here getting busy and active as a blitzer, because he wasn't. But I think that could be a realistic possibility this year, now that you got 2 guys on the outside that you believe in and you trust in, with Amos coming on board. I think you can see Mikey being unleashed in that nickel slot area, getting after the quarterback. There's so many things that can happen now defensively because you feel better about the pieces that you have on this football team. The depth you have at the cornerback position. You can do a little bit more. But it always is going to come back to this defensive line. Can Javonte Jean-Baptiste take a leap in year 2? We talk about all these guys in year 2. All these guys in year 2. That we talking about stepping up, and we keep bringing up Ben Sinnott, and we keep bringing up Luke McCaffrey, right? I'll throw out, Jordan McGee is a guy that I can't wait to see stay healthy and really have an impact. What about Javonte Jean-Baptiste? Who says he can't step up and end up with 4 sacks this year? I doubt it. I won't believe it until I see it, but why not? Why can't he? So, again, when you look at this list of defenders, we don't know who's going to make this roster. We don't know how deep they're going to go. How many ends are they keeping? Are they going to keep 4? Are they going to keep 5? I think the number's probably 5 defensive ends, right? How many defensive tackles are they going to keep? Number's probably going to be 4. Could be 5, right? We know they're keeping every single one of these linebackers that you see here. Louie, McGee, Martin, and Wagner, they're all here. All 4 of those guys are going to be here. How many of these defensive linemen are they keeping? You know they're keeping Dorrance Armstrong. Cleveland Farrell's probably going to be here. Javonte John Baptiste going to be here, right? Of these defensive ends, 1, 2, 3 of those guys going to be here. And you throw Jacob Martin into that group, he's more of a defensive end than he is a linebacker. That gives you 4, right? Then you look at these defensive tackles, and Jalen Holmes could double as a defensive tackle and a defensive end. To me, he's more of a defensive end than he is a defensive tackle. But he can double as both. Javon Kinlaw, what is he? Probably more so a defensive tackle at this point. He's 300 pounds, right? So he's going to be a defensive tackle, even though he might be playing defensive end. But how many of these guys realistically are making this roster? Sheldon Day didn't make the roster last year. He was on the practice squad. We had to elevate him because we didn't have Johnny Newton early in the season for the first game. Johnny Newton comes back. Sheldon Day goes back to the practice squad. Then we had other injuries. Jonathan Allen gets hurt against the Ravens. Now Sheldon Day's really an integral part of this defense moving forward. But he didn't make the roster last year initially. So who's to say that he makes the roster this year? I'm not counting Sheldon Day as a guy that's on the roster. But I love the fact that he's a guy that can be on the practice squad and that if you need him, you can pull him up. So I look at it like this. You got Eddie Goldman, Javon Kinlaw, Johnny Newton, Daron Payne. So they got Dietrich Wise here as a defensive tackle. He's a defensive end, right? So they're all over the place with their they got to go back and reconfigure this thing, right? So you got Wise at defensive end. So that's Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise, Cleveland Farrell, Javonte John Baptiste. Those are your 4 ends along with Jacob Martin. That's 5. I think they're going to keep 5. That's 5. You look at defensive tackle, Eddie Goldman, Jalen Holmes, Javon Kinlaw, Johnny Newton, Daron Payne. Those are your 5 defensive tackles. So you got 5 defensive tackles. You got 5 defensive ends. That's 10. And then you got these 4 backers, 14. I told you about 14 of these 17 guys that you see on your screen are going to make this team and going to be impactful guys that we count on for production. So when it's all said and done, you can get to 43 sacks. I don't think it's going to be an issue getting to 43 sacks. You might even exceed that number this year. But guys are going to have to step up. Dorrance Armstrong stepped up at the end of the season. If he can pick up where he left off, I see no reason why Dorrance Armstrong can't get you 8 sacks this year. No reason that he can't do that. I'm not counting on Cleveland Farrell for nothing. You know, we could barely get that man to practice, let alone play last season towards the end of the year. I'm not counting on Clee for nothing. The best of Clee was in week 1 against Tampa Bay last year, right? I think he had 2 sacks in that game. All right. He had 3.5 the entire season. Like, don't count on Cleveland Farrell for anything. But if he gives you something, again, that's foul money. Okay. Javonte John Baptiste gave us 1 sack last year. He's a 7th round pick. Anything you get out of him, you should feel fortunate. I'm looking for him to continue to improve. Why can't he give you 2 or 3 sacks this year? That's an improvement on last year's total of 1, right? Eddie Goldman, I'm not looking for any sacks from him. Jalen Holmes, I think he gave us 2 sacks last year? Check the number. Jalen Holmes gave us 2 sacks. Remember, he got here late, did Jalen Holmes. He got here late, and he gave you 2 sacks. So I like Jalen Holmes a lot. I'm glad they brought him back. He's a versatile defender that plays hard, can play against the run, and occasionally fall into a sack. If he could get you 2, and he only played here for 6, maybe 7 regular season games, and he got us 2 sacks, why can't he double that? Why can't he give us 4 this year? We'll see. Javon Kinlaw, another wild card. We have like Jonathan Allen gave us 3 whole sacks. Obviously, he was hurt most of the season last year. So Kinlaw should be able to not only come in and give us the 3 that Jonathan Allen gave us last year, he should be able to increase that total. By how much? Because it's not like Javon Kinlaw has had immense success in his career getting to the quarterback. It's not like he's got a 7-sack season under his belt. As a matter of fact, let me check and see what his highest sack total. My guess is 5. 5 or 4.5 is the most Javon Kinlaw has had in his career in a single season. 4.5 last season with the Jets. That was a career high for him. So I'm not looking for Javon Kinlaw to come in here and all of a sudden turn into this world beater of a pass rush specialist. But if he can get you that same 4.5, that's more than Jonathan Allen gave us last year. So again, one guy isn't going to pick up that slack, but there's no reason we can't overcome those 10.5 sacks and even maybe surpass them collectively as a group. Johnny Newton had 2 sacks last year. Deron Payne had 4 sacks last year. I don't know if I'm going to get more than 4 from Deron. I just don't at this point. I don't know if we're going to get more than that from him. I'm hoping that they pop. They let off shots this offseason when they removed Jonathan Allen from the equation. I'm hoping that he heard those warning shots. Those were warning shots fired. I'm hoping that he heard them shots loud and clear. Was like, shit, I'm next. If I don't do something, I'm next. He's the highest paid defensive player on this team. Well, as of right now, Terry's going to get this extension before the season starts. But as of right now, he's the highest paid player on the team, period, is Deron Payne. That's subject to change here in a bit. But act like it. Okay? Act like it. He gives us quality snaps up front. He plays hard. But I need more than that from a guy making over $20 million a year. I need more than you to just play hard. I need you to impose your will. Johnny Newton, second year. Last year was not a clean offseason. Dealt with surgery. I'm looking for a big leap from him this year. 2 sacks. That's cool. But we drafted you specifically to be a guy to be able to harass the quarterback. That was one of your most redeeming qualities coming out of Illinois, is this guy can rush the quarterback. Well, I need to see it in 2025. A doubling of your sacks would be cool, but I'm really looking for you to be damn near tripling that. I need 6 out of you. This is what you were drafted to do. Get to the quarterback. This is what you were drafted to do. Bad quarterbacks. I need to see it this year. The number for me, for Johnny Newton, for me to consider this a successful season from a pass rushing standpoint, not from a, stopping the run and just an overall defensive tackle player perspective. I'm just talking about from a strictly a pass rush perspective. I need 5. I need 5. That's my baseline for Johnny Newton this year. 5. He gives me that, I'm satisfied. Anything above 5, you're killing it, young fella, and you're worth the 2nd-round pick we spent on you. But anything less than 5, I'm disappointed. 4.5, 5, 4, I'll take it, but I'm not satisfied by that. You can do better than that. We drafted you to be better than that. I'm looking at Frankie and I'm like, yo, that 8 was, we needed it, bro. We needed it last year. But you can give me more. There's more that we can tap into. I'm trying to make you a first-team All-Pro. I'm trying to make them put respect on your name. Hey, look, they can't ignore you now, bro. We got 8 prime timers. Standalone games. We got 8 prime timers, bro. They're going to know your name now. All they knew your name from last year was jumping over the top of the brotherly shove. That's all they knew your name from. They're going to know your name because you a baller this year. Go get double digits. Go get double digits this year, man. Go force a couple fumbles. Maybe even pick one of them up and go score a touchdown. Hey, Dante Fowler scored a touchdown last year. Somebody got to do that on the defensive line this year. Somebody got to do it. Dante ain't here, so somebody got to do it. Why not you, Frankie? You're the best candidate to do it. Somebody got to do it. Bobby had 2 sacks last year. I don't know if we can get more than 2 out of Bobby. I'm not asking for Bobby to do much more than what he did last year. You know, as the years keep, ticking by and Bobby gets older, I'm not asking Bobby to do too much more than what he did. Give me what you gave me last year, and I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. The man was an all-pro last year, 3rd team all-pro. Like, I mean, I can't ask too much more of Bobby Wagner at this age of his career. Right. So that's the way I see this. We can generate the pass rush. We can get to 43 sacks. We can exceed 43 sacks. The guys are here to do it. You get some otherworldly season from Jacob Martin. You get some out-of-body experience from Dorrance Armstrong. And I'm looking at this list of guys. Javon Kinlaw has a breakout season. Deron Payne turns the clock back to 2022. Who knows, right? Who knows what this could turn into? But if collectively, if everyone just does their job, and I think you could also throw Mikey Samer still from the slot into this mix as well, I think he could end up with 2 or 3 sacks this year. If everyone does their job accordingly, we should be able to get the job done from a pass rushing standpoint. This offense is going to score points. Teams are going to have to play catch up. This defense is going to be put in positions to get after the quarterback. The question is, will they be able to do it? Can Joe Wick Jr. scheme it up too? Some of it, look, we don't have a true just line up and beat somebody one-on-one pass rush. We don't have that guy. He doesn't exist here in Washington right now. We don't have that guy. Some of this is, hey, you're going to have to scheme it up, Joe. You're going to have to scheme it up. You're going to have to scheme somebody free. Simulated pressures where it looked like it's coming off this side. They slide protection that way. You drop out. Somebody comes off the other side and comes scot-free. You're going to have to simulate pressure. You're going to have to disguise it. You're going to have to coach it up and scheme it up. That's why they're paying you the big bucks. You got some, tools to play with now, right? You got some guys that allow you to do some things that maybe you didn't feel comfortable doing last year. Yeah, I know you put your corners on the island last year. You tell us that all the time. Every opportunity you get, you always tell us, wait, we didn't protect our corners last year. I believe you. But I can tell you this, those corners protected themselves last year. I know Mikey Samer still was playing 8-9 yards off. You might not have been protecting him. He was protecting himself. I do know that. You ain't got to do that no more. So that easy free lunch underneath, that loose change that dudes were picking up because Mikey was playing so far, that's dead. Because Trey Amos he's coming up. He's getting in their face and deleting the airspace. And we already know Marshawn Lattimore, for better or for worse, is doing that. So now that ball ain't coming out as fast. Now that pass rush can hit home. We need y'all to make it happen. We need y'all to make it happen. And again, and I've already said this, I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done. I still think that there's one piece missing from this entire equation. Because if I had it my way, Cleveland Farrell would not be here. Love him as a locker room guy, love his leadership, love his work ethic, love all of that. But we passed that. Right, we got enough good guys in this locker room. We got enough of the brotherhood that Cleveland Farrell does. He did his part in year one, coming in here and helping set the culture and the tone. But if you bring in a pass rusher and you ask me, somebody's got to go. Who is it? Hey, there go Cleveland Farrell right there. He can go. Zadarius Smith need that 99. Cleveland Farrell's holding it up right now. He's holding it hostage. There goes your 99 right there, Zadarius. Clee. You can go. You can go. We'll see. But I'm just telling you, there's a chance that nothing transpires. I still think there is a move left. I do. But there's a chance that nothing transpires. And if it doesn't, there's enough stuff collectively in there to get us back to where we were last year and maybe even exceed it. But guys are going to have to step up. Second year in the system, upgrades in the secondary that allow you to be a little bit more aggressive. The run defense is a lot more improved. But that wasn't the issue last year, getting pressure. Because we took teams out of the game from a rushing standpoint by us scoring a bunch of points and putting teams behind the 8-ball. We were up in a lot of games last year. This wasn't like previous years where we were always chasing from behind, and if you can't stop the run, there's no way you can catch up. We were ahead. We were preserving leads. We were the ones out in front, and teams had to disregard the run and take to the air, and we couldn't take advantage of it. That has to change this year. That has to change this year. Big Back Final Boss. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, you think we'll get a pass rusher via free agency? I do think there's one more left. Yeah. I do think there's one more move left in the chamber for Adam Peters before it's all said and done. I'd put, if we were doing this percentage-wise, I'd put it at 60%. There's a 60% chance that he goes out and gets somebody. There's a 40% chance that he doesn't. Meaning, it's very close. You could even say 55-45. It's very close. I wouldn't be shocked if they look at their roster and they're perfectly content with what they've done already and they're just going to let it ride. I wouldn't be shocked. But I still think, just listening to Lance Newmark after the draft was over, talking about, hey, there's still things out there in free agency that we can, pursue if need be. I do think there's options that they're considering, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them do that. I wouldn't be shocked to see them do that. And if I'm not mistaken, Clowney's still out there as well. I don't think he's signed with anybody last time I checked. So that's another guy that you can add to the mix if need be. But I've been a Zadarius Smith guy. I continue to be one, but I'm also totally down with Jadeveon Clowney. Totally down with Jadeveon Clowney. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, not going to lie, JD has to beat Hurts or Mahomes in the off for love. Hey, look, at this point, he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. He's already proven what he's capable of and what he's worth to this organization. Now, it's about him going out and proving to himself that he's just as good as those guys, right? We know he's better than Jalen Hurts. But is he better than Mahomes? He'll get a chance to prove that this year. Mano a mano. He's already beaten Joe Burrow in his building on a Monday night. But can he thrust himself into that conversation permanently? Like right now, he's visiting the top 5. He's visiting the top 5. Because we've already said there's 4 guys firmly cemented and planted in that top 4. 4. You can't remove them. You can try. You can't. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, Burrow. They ain't going nowhere. Those are the 4 best quarterbacks in the league. You put them in whatever order you want. And then the 5th guy just keeps rotating. When Stafford won the Super Bowl in 2021, he was the 5th guy. Herbert's name is always thrown in that conversation, but he ain't won nothing. And when it gets tight, he clams up. So he's not a part of that group. Hurts' name gets thrown out there a little bit, but that was before Jaden Daniels showed up on the scene. Now Daniels is in that mix. He's the 5th guy. But he's just visiting until he cements himself as a part of that group to round out that top 5. And eventually, he'll get inside of that top 4 and push one of those dudes out, and then they got to fight to keep their name as the thumb, right? Because there's going to be 4 fingers that's in there, tight, snug. That thumb is the one that keeps rotating. Right now, the thumb is Jaden Daniels. He don't get it done this year. He's out. Somebody else is in. He gets it done at a high enough clip. Well, Lamar or somebody else, hey, you got to come out of there, man. You got to come out of that top 4. You the thumb now. You got to fight for your spot. Because Mahomes ain't going nowhere. Allen ain't going nowhere. You ain't taking them 2 out. Burrow, he's done some damage, and he's been to a Super Bowl. We've seen him carry a team like he did last year, despite not having a defense. Didn't get to the playoffs, but it was through no fault of his own, right? Jackson won 2 league MVPs. Not 1, 2. But he hasn't gotten it done in the postseason. But it doesn't diminish the fact that he's still one of the best talents, one of the best players at his position in the league. So those 4 are in there. But if Jaden Daniels can do what he did again last year and then exceed the NFC Championship game and get to the Super Bowl, oh, one of them dudes got to move. One of those dudes got to move. And to your point, LT, you got to win when it matters most. You got to get it done when it matters most. Regular season is cool. Dak wins a lot in the regular season. Lamar Jackson wins a lot in the regular season. That's cool. Playoffs is where it's at. That's where legacies are forged. So, yeah, you do have to win against those guys. I get it. Antoine Hoskins, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Antoine writes, 100 men versus 1 gorilla. Who you got? We talked about this already on Super Friends. I'm taking the gorilla, man. And I've heard different arguments on both sides. And so here's the thing. If you could, here's the thing. If you could guarantee me that 100 guys would go in there with a game plan and stick to it, knowing that some of them would have to be sacrificed. If you could tell me that, then I'm taking 100 men, right? But I don't think you're going to be able to get dudes to go into a battle with a gorilla knowing, hey, you ain't coming out alive, bro. It's about 10 to 15 of y'all that you ain't coming home. You sacrificed yourself for the greater good. People just ain't wired that way. Like, yeah, they go over and do it in war, but those guys think they're coming back. They know there's a chance that they ain't coming back, but you think you're coming back home, right? In this particular instance, bro, you're not coming back home. You're being sacrificed. This ain't no, well, if I do this and I do, no. You're being offered up to weaken the gorilla, to get his endurance down for the next group to come in and have a chance to do what they need to do so that that final group can come in and take him out. I just don't think you're going to get guys on board to do that. That's the problem. So I'm taking the gorilla. Now, if you can get 100 men on board, knowing that some will be sacrificed, yeah, the 100 men have a shot for sure. Anyway, I digress. And that's the problem. Like 15 to 20, 25 dudes might not be coming home, and they're not coming home. And how you going to get somebody to go out there and know, hey, bro, this is it for you. And we will honor your legacy, but you are not coming back after this. You're Dunsky. I just don't see somebody signing up for that. Not enough dudes signing up for that. So, I digress. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this Saturday. Impromptu command post live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. If you haven't checked out the Frankie Louvu video, do yourself a favor. Do that. I did a quick little video on Frankie Louvu, asking you guys, basically, where does he rank among your favorite commanders? I think he is already in 1 year made an indelible impact, and I think he has already raced up the charts among favorite commanders, players for fans. Probably after Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, I think Frankie Louvu is right up there at number 3. I could be wrong, and there could be, other guys that you've taken a liking to, but I find it hard to believe that you're going to find many more guys higher on the list than Frankie Louvu at this point after just 1 year. That's how infectious his energy is. And this story that the NFL put out, and and on my video, I got the links to the profile. If you haven't checked it out, go over to my video, watch it, of course, like it, of course, but click that link, and that gives you an even wider lens to the Frankie Louvu story. I had already watched those three when we first signed Frankie Louvu, so I already knew most of what they had in that video, but they added some more layers to it. So if you haven't watched the Frankie Louvu video, I would tell you to watch the profiles 1, 2, and 3 first, then watch the new video they put out, and it'll all, to me, make more sense for you, right? It'll all make more sense. But I digress. Big Back Final Boss, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up with rights. We need to silence these Eagles fans once and for all. They don't stop talking for some reason. Why are they so insufferable? Because they can be. Because they can be. This is what happens when someone who has never, ever had power in their lives finally gets it. Like, I equate this to, you could look at it one of two ways. If you were broke as a kid, while all your peers were stunting with all kinds of shoes and nice clothes, and you were wearing hand-me-downs and you never had the latest kicks, then you get older and you get money, and now you got a shoe fetish and you buy every shoe. That is overcompensation, right? You're compensating for a time in your life when you didn't have, now you do, and you're making up for lost time. That's the Eagles right now. For the longest time, they were the only team in the division without a Super Bowl win. They were irrelevant for basically 50 some odd years, right? They were irrelevant. They just became relevant 8 years ago when they won their first Super Bowl. They finally joined the club, right? Now they've got a second one. Now they feel like they're on top and they're powerful, and they've been deprived for so long. So now that they got the power, they got the juice, they're going to let you know about it. So until somebody takes that power away from them, this is what's going to happen. And Dallas can't do it. The Giants never could. It's got to be us. That's why they're threatened. Fear is a powerful motivating factor. They're fearful of us. They were never, ever totally scared of Dallas. They respected Dallas because Dallas put up numbers in the regular season, but they know Dak Prescott's their quarterback. And because of that, there's a ceiling on what they can do. There's only so much that Dallas can do. It's only so far that the Cowboys can go. Us, on the other hand, they saw in 1 year what Jaden Daniels was able to do, and now they're scared shitless, and they know he's a dangerous man. And as we continue to improve this roster, we are the biggest threat to them staying on top. So they're not going to stop. You want them to stop? Take the throne from them and then make it ours. And then they're not going to stop even then, but at least they're less insufferable. Because now, who are you? You're nobody. But they're the man right now. They're the team to beat. And until they're not, this is what you got to put up with. You don't like it? Beat them. Beat them. You don't like it? Beat them. That's what we aim to do. That's what we aim to do. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of the Command Post Live. Thank you guys for joining me on this Saturday. I know you had plenty of things to do. It is a gorgeous day outside. Go touch some grass, man. I didn't even mean to come hem you up for as long as I did, but I'm passionate about this pass rush, man. I think we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. But I would feel so much better if they went out and added somebody. I'd feel so much better. But in the event that they don't, I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. Anyway, I digress. You guys, get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time, probably on Monday over the weekend, or after the weekend has met its conclusion. We'll reconvene probably Monday. Until then, you guys have a good one. Take care. God bless and good day.